Depression Baby. Stories about growing up in Appalachia and other things too. With my dad, Ray B. Rogers.
On August 16th, 1929, I came into this world kicking and screaming. I reckon that made me a depression baby.
Depression Baby is a World Songs media production. Brought to you by Depression Baby the Book. Available in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover, and soon audiobook at raybrogers.com.
Be careful what you pray for. You just might get it. It seemed to me that Granddad Rogers had enough cornfields to hoe, but Uncle Herschel had to go and rent another field and plant it in corn. I was only about 10 years old, and I basically came down to Granddad's farm in the summer to be the water boy for the men in the fields and the gopher boy for grandmother, not to hoe corn. I was bunking in the boys' bedroom in the upstairs of Granddad's farmhouse. Uncle John and Uncle Jack shared the bedroom with me. The bedroom had a little porch off to the back of the house, which, during the night, came in handy. It was a matter of convenience, since there was no indoor plumbing available. It was good being with some older guys. Sometimes they talked when they thought that I was asleep. I learned a lot. One night, Uncle Jack had returned from a date in town with a very pretty girl. It seemed to me that he was in love. I figured that this was a good thing. Another good thing happened. My cousin Don McCracken came down to the farm for a visit. Don was 1 year younger than I, so it was good to have someone near my age to hang out with. We would play with the dog Tilly, and we would throw rocks at the snakes that crawled up on the big rocks on the creek banks to sun themselves. We were even brave enough to throw rocks at a big old hornet's nest and then run like the dickens. We helped Grandmother by feeding the chickens and maybe pulling a few weeds in her garden. We had more good cooking than you could imagine. We were blessed not only with Grandmother's blackberry cobbler, but we sampled the best from Crabtree's cooks when there was dinner on the grounds at Mount Zion Methodist Church. Life was good. We went to Sunday school at Mount Zion, and we learned a lot of Bible stories and heard the preacher pray. We learned that if you prayed hard enough, that God would answer your prayers. We became believers in the best sense of the word. Well, I guess Uncle Herschel's cornfield needed hoeing, and he had to help Granddad with other, more important farm endeavors. So it came to pass that Cousin Don and myself were dropped off at the cornfield with a couple of hoes and specific instructions. It was cool in the morning when we started hoeing, but as the hours passed by, the rows got longer and longer. The sun got hotter and hotter, and we were trying hard, but our endurance was being tested. Something had to be done. We decided to test the power of prayer. We just got down on our knees at the end of the corn row and prayed for rain. God must have recognized our plight, for soon the clouds began to form, and we heard thunder high in the mountains. We saw lightning coming closer and closer. We knew right then and there that our prayers had been answered. We gathered our hoes and ran for the farmhouse. We got there about the same time as Granddad and the uncles and the rain. Then the trouble began. The rain became a real gully washer. The muddy waters were rushing down the little creek that ran close by the farmhouse, and soon the banks were overflowing. The clouds grew black and ominous as lightning was striking all around us. We retreated inside the house to ponder what we had done, as the house shook from the thunder. It was then that Don, with the unwavering knowledge of a young boy, decided that maybe we had prayed too hard and possibly overdone it. So he counseled with Granddad concerning our dilemma. I suppose that I wanted this raging storm to stop just as much as Don did. Maybe I even prayed for the storm to end, I don't remember. But Don, being smarter than I, did the right thing. He took the problem to Granddad, who assured us that the rainstorm would eventually end, and sure enough it did. But Granddad never let me forget this day. To Granddad Rogers, this was a funny event, but not to me. Yep, I was a little embarrassed and really didn't want our secret to ever be revealed. But having had this learning experience, I would just pass the following on to you. If you ever get down to the end of your row, do what we were taught to do at Mount Zion. And oh yeah, be sure that you don't overdo it.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Depression Baby. And if you did, my dad has one important request.
If this podcast brought a smile to your day, please consider leaving a nice review and a 5-star rating on iTunes. You can make the difference in preserving this unique mountain heritage.
If you need any help with how to subscribe to the podcast, just go to raybrogers.com and look for the podcast tab on the main menu. Thanks to our audio and musical contributors, including our friend Lobo Loco. You can find out more about him and all the rest of the music and audio in the show notes at, you guessed it, raybrogers.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Depression Baby Podcast.